How's it going, everybody? This is the Hawks family, and this is our first official recording from your own truly, their garage. We're getting ready to jump into some football talk here, specifically Seattle versus the Lions. We're going to go into some good detail as well as touch on some other stuff. First things first, Seattle versus the Lions. What are your thoughts on the offense? What are your thoughts on the defense?
Yeah, so man, for their offense, I'm just amazed about how Geno Smith has been playing lately. It's crazy to see, what he's done in these first 4 weeks just alone. 77.1% percentage completion rating, which is crazy. He's 108 passer rating overall as well. He was 23 for 30 yesterday or on Sunday, which is amazing as well. I really like the production from DK, Rashad Penny. Offensive line was clean. I know this is a Lions defense, but to be real, it is an NFL defense. I'm just happy. I mean, I'd be happy if it was against Air, honestly. So,
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail right on the head there. This is a Lions defense. The Lions offense has scored statistically the most points in the NFL out of any other team. That being said, they're also 1-3, so I think that does say something about their defense right there, allowing a ton of points. Seattle through 4 weeks is 2-2. I think I've seen a lot of upside out of Geno Smith. Highest quarterback rating, going through the first 4 weeks out of any quarterback that qualifies. My biggest takeaway, my biggest upside here is definitely in Rashad Penny. I think for Rashad Penny, he was our 2017 first-round pick, if I recall the years correctly, and I think as a Seahawks fan that was looking forward to a running back being drafted early, I've been disappointed up until the last 2 years. Last year, he kind of started picking up some speed. They're going into the last 4 weeks of the season. This year, he's having a super strong start when we were really looking at a running back type by committee type year with the pickups of Kenneth Walker III, who I'm super excited for. Still a ton of upside, but I definitely had some reservations that it was going to be a backfield that was split up 33% across 3 ways, with DJ Dallas getting some goal line touches. Big, strong, bruising back. So what gave me some alarms was our defense. Our defense, certainly, especially against the Lions' offense, which has looked good through the first 4 weeks, has allowed a lot of points. We have a young team, so hopefully that it gets better as the year progresses. And, going into next year, I know I'm speaking pretty far into the future here, but going into next year, we have a really solid foundation to build on. Just recently, we're going to touch up on it, is the Russell Wilson trade, but I think we really locked up Shelby Harris there, good interior defensive lineman. We have good cornerbacks on the edge. Quandre Diggs is fantastic. We'll see what happens with Jamal Adams going forward. But I do like our defense. What are your thoughts here?
yeah, so I'm glad you asked. So I was actually ready to talk about this. So seeing the game versus Lions, if you look to their week prior, they played the Vikings, and it was the same exact score, but opposite. It was 35-38. Crazy. They should not have lost that game. So it's definitely surprising that our defense even held them to 45 points. But it should have been a lot less. This is a young defensive team. Look at Tyreek Woolen. He got a pick six. Kobe Bryant, he had a fumble sack. I mean, not a fumble sack. It was a fumble, which is great. Great hit, by the way, too, as well. So a lot of credit to the defense as well, because people aren't giving them the credit that they do deserve. So I think a lot of those points would be -2, looking at the penalties, looking at the big plays. What's their that tight end they have? What's his name?
For
The Lions.
The Lions, T.J. Hawkinson.
Yeah, T.J. Hawkinson.
Career day.
Yeah, career day. Looking at him going over 150 yards. That one play where he just ran all the way down the field and no one can stop him. You minus those. Those are going to minus points. So, again, this is a young defensive team. You're going to have leaders like Quandre back there. You're going to have leaders like Jordan Brooks, Tyreek Woolen. He's already looking like a young superstar. Already 2 picks. He's tied for 5th in the NFL among other cornerbacks in the league for picks. So I just see this defense is on the come up, and a lot of those points should be minus. Like look at the fumble from the special teams with Tyler Lockett. That right there, that's a free touchdown. So you minus those mistakes, those minusing those points. This game should have been long gone out. And, just speaking about that, long gone out, even though the Lions kept scoring, what did Geno do? He kept coming out and scoring, even with firing back with the pressure in his face. He did not stop. He kept going and kept delivering. And I know, again, that this is an NFL defense. This is the Lions defense. It's not the greatest. It's probably the worst in NFL history. But it's still a defense. And we scored 48 points. There's been months with Russell Wilson, we didn't even score 48 points in a month. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a great point. Geno Smith really did seem to take control of the scheme of the offense, distributing the ball efficiently, getting the ball to DK Metcalf. I think he had a great first half, getting the ball to Tyler Lockett, Rashad Penny. The running game was on point. I do like our offense moving forward, and I do think Geno Smith, he took a step forward. I mean, we haven't really seen anything like that out of Geno Smith since he played at West Virginia. And that's been a long time. So, when did he get drafted? Like 10 years ago, 9 years ago, something like that. So, big step forward. And I think, I was just kind of looking at the schedule here moving forward. We have some weeks in the near future where we could win. We could win some of these games pretty significantly. New Orleans hasn't looked great.
I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yeah.
So the reason I'm glad you brought up that game, especially the schedule coming up with New Orleans, look at last year. They were a lot more, sound last year. They did pretty good. They did pretty well in the schedule last year, but we almost beat them. We lost by a field goal to New Orleans with Geno Smith, if you don't remember.
While Russ was out.
So now we have Geno. He's acquainted with the offense. He's been with us for 4 games now, and this is going to be his 5th game. I do not see a dramatic drop off. The only player on that defense, the only 2 players that I know on that defense is Marshawn Lattimore and Cameron Jordan. Those guys right there, they are really good players. And last year when DK played Marshawn Lattimore, he pushed him around. He bullied him. He got some big plays on Marshawn Lattimore. So the connection between Geno Smith and DK is going to continue to progress, and I do not see a drop-off anytime soon with Geno Smith. I don't see the wheels falling off, like Stephen A. Smith said this morning. So had to throw that out there, throw some shade at him.
Yeah, well, as a Seahawks fan, I certainly hope. I am pretty objective, and I am leading the campaign for C.J. Stroud to the Hawks 2023, as you know, and I discuss pretty often. I do like Geno Smith. I think he's serviceable for the time being. Going into the season, and not to bash on my guy that just got us a 48-point victory, but as you know, I was rooting for Drew Lock. I wanted Drew Lock to get that starting campaign because Geno Smith has been in the league now for a decade, and I was looking for, more at the upside of Drew Lock, even though he throws the ball like a maniac sometimes, and I swear sometimes he can't tell what colors the jersey are on the field. He'll throw the ball straight at the defender. But he's got a rocket for an arm, and we did see some flashes from him in Denver compared to, Geno Smith, where over his career statistically, since he's gotten in the NFL, he struggled. He spent some time in New York as a starter, didn't do that great. I believe he went one more destination, also didn't do that good. He, of course, ended up in Seattle 2-3 years back as a backup, and since has been sitting behind Russ. It's been going well.
So just to clarify, when he went to the Jets, that was a dumpster fire with Rex Ryan. That was not a good team. Okay. Then after the Jets, because he broke his jaw, and then Ryan Fitzpatrick just took over and just went off that year. He went to sit behind the Giants quarterback. He was the Giants quarterback at the time. I can't remember his name. He won the Super Bowls against Brady. Manning, yep. Eli Manning. Thank you for that. Yeah. And then after that, he went to the Chargers and sat behind Phillip Rivers, exactly. And so I think he has low mileage on him, which is really good for a quarterback at his age. He has a lot of experience now. I don't know if you watched the game, the post game afterwards when they were all in the locker room, and Pete Carroll was hyping them up about the offense, and everybody was chanting Geno, Geno. Like that right there, I don't know, that got me hyped, man, because when he was younger, in his younger days, the team didn't come around him. Like, I'm talking with the Jets, the team did not come around him like that. He was a selfless guy. He was a selfish guy. Now in Seattle, he's a selfless guy, and the team is coming around him. And to your point with C.J. Stroud, we don't know if he's going to pan out. He's great.
Never do with a rookie.
Never do with the rookie, exactly. So in college, yes, he is amazing. Definitely see the talent there. I'm not a college fan, so I'm not going to sit up here and act like I know everything about college. But the Alabama QB, Bryce Young, he looks really promising as well. And again, if you just look back in the first round pick, you get your first, your second, your third. Let's look back at Baker Mayfield. Did he pan out?
No.
Exactly. Jadeveon Clown, he was the first round. Did he pan out?
You make an argument. Not your first round pick.
Not
first overall pick.
Not first overall
pick.
First
rounder, yes.
Exactly. Not first overall pick. So you don't necessarily need that first overall pick to be in a good position. You can be at the 9th, the 8th, the 10th spot. Look, we got Charles Cross. He's a top 5 draft pick, and we got him at number 9. So you don't have to be at number 1 like a lot of people are thinking. So, yes, Seattle is not, a top 10 team, top 15. I say we're a top 20 to 25 team. We're going to win some games, but we're not going to have a winning record. And, we talk about this at work a lot. I just say that, we're not going to win a lot of games. So when we do, celebrate the wins.
Totally agree. It's important to celebrate those victories, especially, and truth be told, we won our Super Bowl Monday Night Football season opener. And I don't think it means much now looking back. I think there's some, that victory at the time felt really large, and since it looks like Denver's kind of been placed on the back burner in a lot of people's eyes. They're at this point banged up. I don't think they're that solid of a team. Javonte Williams going down. Trust me, I feel that. He's on my fantasy team. We're looking to make pickups here. Keep an eye on Latavius Murray. He got picked up by Denver. It's a little side note there, but I certainly do agree with what you were saying. We're definitely a top 25, top 20 team, serviceable. We're a roster with a lot of young guys that are going to go out and compete every week. Every week, I think we're going to be in competitive games. Don't expect many blowouts. Just kind of looking through the schedule here, we have, like I said, the next 4 weeks are games we can win. We're playing against the Saints, we're playing against the Cards, the Chargers, and the Giants. And then we have the Cards again. The Chargers are a good team, and they looked good this week. Eckler finally took the training wheels off and got it rolling. I'm looking forward to watching him kind of continue to elevate as the year goes on. As an Oregon guy, I do like Herbert. Chargers are a team I definitely follow and keep an eye on. And with Herbert, he seemed a little bit more comfortable since the rib injury he suffered a couple weeks back. I think this last week he kind of got out of his shell a little bit more, kind of worked into the season. Look for the Chargers to go on a run here. But I will say Seahawks win 3 out of the next 4 games.
Yeah, so I completely agree with that. And, to the point of that, I think there is a chance that we could go 4-0 out of these next 4 games if Geno plays the way he played against the Lions. Again, that is the top scoring offense in the league, and he's stayed blow for blow. There's teams that are supposed to be high-powered offenses like the Chiefs and other teams that are struggling to put up points. Look at Green Bay. There's a lot of teams that are like Denver as well. They're supposed to be a high-powered offense. They're struggling to put up points. I know that the Broncos just lost to the Raiders, which is, it's good to see Russell Wilson lose games, not in Seattle, because for a while, it almost when Russell was in Seattle, you would hear all this outside noise. I almost believed it was Seattle and not Russell. What if it was Russell and it wasn't Seattle?
As the season's gone on, I've kind of had that same thought. And watching Russ play over the last, 2 years in Seattle, what made Russ so good in the early part of his career, coming out of Wisconsin, when he had the Legion of Boom defense around him, it's it was his ability to make plays outside of the pocket and to escape and kind of pull some Houdini stuff. He had that magic element to him that made him, elusive for a defender to get a hold of. And I think as his career's gone on, I think we're entering year 12 or something along those lines, or 11. Yeah, he looks much less elusive. And over the last 3 years, we've seen him get injured because of it. He takes many more sacks. The pocket seems to kind of eat him alive versus him escape. And when he does escape, the ball's getting pushed down the field less. I mean, he still has those moon balls. I think we've seen him and Cortland Sutton connect on a couple of them throughout the first couple weeks of the season, but nothing of major note. Nothing compared to his time in Seattle when he had, let's just say Percy Harvin. Percy Harvin, Jermaine Kearse, Golden Tate, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Baldwin. He had some players that really went out and made some plays for him, and he had the ability because of his legs to make that happen. As his career's evolved and gone forward, and time's gone by, he certainly does seem to have lost a step running the football. Not to say he's not still a top 10 quarterback in the league, because I think that, it'd be crazy to not call him a top 10 quarterback in the league because of 4 bad weeks.
What everything he's accomplished, too.
Everything he's accomplished. He's 7 years removed from a Super Bowl where if he would have handed the ball off to Marshawn Lynch, they win. He's 8 years removed from beating, absolutely destroying his current team, the Broncos, with Peyton Manning at the helm. So I do think that he'll still be a quarterback going forward. I like his chances at contending for a Super Bowl in the next 4 years, especially in Denver. I think they have a solid team. They have a GM that's going to spend a lot of money. But as far as right now goes, I don't see them as a contender in their own division.
No, I highly agree with that. Let's just look at some numbers. So I'll spit these right off the top of my head because I know them like the back of my hand. So we're looking at Geno. He has 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, completion rating of 77.1%. He's attempted 132 throws. He's completed 102, okay, which is crazy. Now let's look at Russell Wilson. He has, and he also, Geno Smith also has a QBR of 75. Or 80, okay? Now, Russell Wilson, he has attempted 131 throws. He's completed only 80 of them, so 20 less than Geno Smith, all right? With a completion rating of 64.1. So
QB rating?
No, not QB rating, completion percentage. And then QBR of 45. 45. Now, let's look at some sack numbers, okay? Russell Wilson wanted out of Seattle for what?
Offensive
line. So, now, can you take a guess how many times Russell Wilson has been sacked?
4 weeks. I'm going to say 16 times.
He's been sacked 12 times. Now, I'm going to ask you another question. How many times do you think Geno Smith has been sacked?
4 weeks. I'm going to say 8 times.
6 times. So, half the amount of times Russell Wilson has been sacked. That is mind-boggling to me, just to put the statistics together like that. Now, you look at this Lions game. So, Geno Smith, he threw 23 for 30, 322 yards, and he had 50 rushing yards. When's the last time Russell Wilson did that?
I can't even remember. I hear exactly what you're saying. And I agree that Geno Smith, as of right now, is playing better than Russell Wilson, which is really odd to say. Never in my life would I have expected to say that, right? Now, let me ask you a rhetorical question that I think I know the answer to that you're going to say. If you had to pick a quarterback for the same dollar amount as one another for the next 4 years, Geno Smith, Russell Wilson, they're going to cost you both $10 million a year. Let's pretend Russell Wilson's not breaking banks over here and he's not crazy expensive. Let's just say they're the same dollar amount. Who's your quarterback for the next 4 years?
Well, can I ask you a question? So are we going to get the Russell Wilson that's going to want to go with the system, or are we going to want the Russell Wilson that's going to want to let Russ cook, let it be my way, and have the wheels fall off? Because a lot of people think that Pete Carroll didn't give Russell Wilson what he wanted. If you look back to that 2019 season, or was it the 2020 season? It was the 2019 season where he threw 44 touchdowns, right? In the beginning of the year, the first 3 games, he threw 12 touchdowns. he breaking records. Him, Patrick Mahomes, and Peyton Manning were the only quarterbacks to throw that many touchdowns in the first 3 weeks. He, continued to ride that high of throwing that many touchdowns every game. But what happened? All of the interceptions started coming. Pete Carroll was like, hey, you're turning over the ball. We're starting to lose games. We're going back to running the ball. Running the ball again. And when that happened, we went into a mediocre offense. Yes, we made it to the playoffs. We didn't beat any playoffs team. We didn't go far at all. But now, which kind of Russell Wilson are we getting before I answer this question?
Excellent question. My answer is going to be the Russell Wilson in the future.
Ooh, that's
Not going to give you an answer to that. I'm just going to say the Russell Wilson going forward.
I'm taking Geno Smith.
Geno Smith next 4 years? It's bold.
I'm taking Geno Smith this year.
Okay.
I wouldn't say the next 4 years. He has been in the league for 10 years. But seeing what we have seen the last 4 games, if you give Geno Smith a good defense, I know our defense isn't great right now. It's got good players, good young players, good foundation, good core. They're young, definitely need some experience. That's why we have them out there. But I feel like if Geno Smith had a Legion of Boom and a Marshawn Lynch, you don't think he's making the Super Bowl twice?
He very well could be, but I don't know if Marshawn Lynch and Legion of Boom defense, let me take that back, because Legion of Boom defense I do think is a large part of the reason that we were in that Super Bowl to begin with. Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, and whoever the other guy was on the other side there. I think it wasn't Maxwell, was it?
Yeah, Maxwell.
Brian Maxwell? I think it was Brian Maxwell. Those 4 guys really took away a lot of the field.
I do want to say this now. So, looking at this in the first 4 weeks, there has not been another QB to accomplish what Geno Smith has done in the first 4 weeks. Not even Russell Wilson. And he's on a Seahawks team.
That's certainly something to keep in mind. And, only time will tell with Geno Smith. I do think that he's going to keep the job, because of what he's done in the first 4 weeks. He's not going to lose the job all season unless he has an injury or they show, Drew Lock and Geno Smith have some sort of competition in the practice facility, and it's undeniable that Drew Lock's that guy, which we don't expect. But, I've seen crazier things in the NFL. I certainly wouldn't put it past Pete Carroll to make a move like that if he really felt like Drew Lock was the guy, if he wanted to beat to his own drum. But I don't expect it. I do expect Geno Smith. He's definitely secured that starting QB1 position for Seattle for at least this year. Now, is that going to be our demise? Because are we going to think that Geno Smith is hot? Because I like Geno Smith. I think he's serviceable. He's never going to win us a Super Bowl. Geno Smith will never win us a Super Bowl. So who is that player that takes the Seahawks over the hump? Because right now we need an edge rusher. Here, take the floor.
I'm sorry to jump in here, because what you're saying is gold. You are right. So you're asking who's going to take us over that hump. So if you look at the last QBs that won a Super Bowl, they're all on rookie contracts. Except for Tom Brady. Tom Brady, he takes a pay cut.
Yeah,
exactly. You can't win a Super Bowl paying a quarterback $45 million. It's defense, run the ball, and a QB that's on a rookie contract. Okay? So now I have a question for you. You asked me a question about who am I taking for if they're the same dollar amount. So, say, because I tell you this all the time in the office. You say, you're like, oh, we're not going to win that many games, and I tell you, wait till about week 6, 7, and you'll start seeing the defense turn around. You're like, we'll see. So what if the defense turns around week 6, week 7, we win these next 4 games, and then Geno Smith takes us to the NFC Championship, not the Super Bowl, the NFC Championship? Are you re-signing him for the next year?
Yes, on a team-friendly deal. If he wants anything over $20 million a year, the answer is no. 15 million, I take him. But I'm still drafting a guy.
To work underneath him. Right?
I would probably, what I'd probably do if I'm, John Schneider, I'm going to use probably a couple of my picks to move up in the draft. Go get my guy, where if I can get him at 3, if I can get him at 5, because you're not going to be able to break that top 1-2 unless you have a very lucrative offer. It's going to take, how many picks did it take for the 49ers to move to 3? They had to move off 2 first-round picks.
3. It took them 3 to get Trey Lance.
Because the one that they spent on him and the 2 that they spent to move up to get him.
Exactly.
So I don't think that was worth it.
I was just about to ask you, would you be willing to do what the 49ers did when they took Trey Lance, giving up 2 first rounds to get to the third overall pick to do that? Because I wouldn't do that. Would you do that?
It would depend on the type of player we're moving up for. It would depend on the type of season he had. I think that's not an answer, question that you can answer very well, because if we're taking, let's just say for some weird reason, Trevor Lawrence is going to fall to 3. We're doing the Trevor Lawrence draft over again. I would say yeah, but if I'm moving up to take C.J. Stroud, no. I mean, this is one of the deepest quarterback drafts we've seen in many years. I think even there's guys that you and I wouldn't even know the names of. They're going to be great in the NFL.
What round did Russell Wilson get?
Russell Wilson was drafted in the 3rd round, but he was drafted in the 3rd round, and if you actually watched him in school, he balled out at NC State. He balled out at Wisconsin. I was fortunate enough to see a couple games where he actually played Oregon, not in person, but not a lot of players are watching Wisconsin football unless you're from Wisconsin, or people. Not a lot of players are watching NC State football unless you're somewhere in that school's vicinity. So he wasn't put on display like he would have at Oregon, like he would have at USC, like he would have at, at one of those SEC schools, Georgia, Bama, and ACC, Clemson school. None of these schools that would really premiere Russell Wilson and who he was where he went to school. And I think that's kind of something that you always have in the NFL draft, is that wild card factor where you just don't know what you're going to get until the player's on the field with a bunch of other dudes that have made the NFL.
I do have a huge question for you now. Okay, so looking at the NFC West as a whole in general, the whole NFC West is 2-2. That is crazy to me. So now, no one in the NFC West, no one in the NFL, no fans would have thought the whole NFC West would have been 2-2, and the NFC East with the Jets, Giants, the Eagles would have been all 4-0, 3-1, 3-1. That's, to me, that is insane. So. And then you have the 49ers with 2 victories at home over division opponents, one being the Seahawks and one being the Rams, which the 49ers always beat the Rams every year.
Who was the starter for those 2 weeks that they won? Or who was the quarterback that won those 2 games?
That was Jimmy Garoppolo.
Who was the quarterback that lost those 2 games?
That was Trey Lance. So my question for you is, I watched that Rams game, and they ran the ball over. I watched them run all over the Rams. The Rams do not have a great run defense like they used to, like last year or the year prior, where it was really stout. It's not as good this year. The Bills and the Buccaneers and the 49ers look way better defensively than the Rams. They are not like they were.
I agree on paper, statistically, their performance, yes, but they have some dogs on the field. Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Bobby Wagner, who they stole from us, man. Like, they stole him. Leonard Floyd, and that's four guys that I can name off the top of my head that are absolute dudes on the field.
What happened to Jalen Ramsey week 1 against Stephon Diggs?
Cooked. Now, would you say that he was cooked all game, or would you say that Stephon Diggs did what Stephon Diggs does and what many other receivers in the NFL do, which is have chunk plays that take the head off a defense? That play where you see it developing on TV and the quarterback lets it fly, and you just know right there that someone on the other end of that got, and that there's a receiver on the other end of that catching the ball, trotting into the end zone. Because when I saw that play develop, I can see it.
It was like the Stephon Gilmore versus DK Metcalf.
You just see it. Kirk Cousins, and this is Kirk Cousins, launches the ball up in the air. It's like the ball was up in there for a full quarter.
Kirk Cousins with Stephon. Are you talking like 3 years ago, or are you talking because now?
Josh Allen. Josh.
Yeah, I was a little confused because I know it was his QB.
Can you believe this guy? Can't believe it myself. Josh Allen, which makes much more sense with the absolute moon ball. All I know is that ball went up in the air and it felt like it never came down.
Kirk Cousins, he does have a moon ball as well. He's a certified choker.
He can't play in prime time. Keep that guy away from Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night, and you might have a dub. But I think he's like what his record is. It's atrocious on prime time.
He's like got one W.
You know, something that I'm going to ask you, and I want your honest opinion. I'm going to go through each week the outlook for the Seattle Seahawks. Right now, we're 2-2. We're going to tally up how many wins we think we get going into the rest of the year. So we got the Saints this weekend. Who's winning?
Oh, I'm going to take a close matchup. I'm going to say the Seahawks.
All right, we got Cardinals week 6.
Is this home or away?
We are. It's at Lumen. We're home.
We're taking that one.
Okay. Chargers at SoFi.
I'm going to take the Chargers only because they have Justin Herbert. If Geno Smith plays the way he did with the Lions, which is very possible against the Chargers defense, I could see this one being very close.
Okay. We have Giants at home.
Giants are very sloppy this year. I'm taking the Seahawks.
Cardinals at State Farm Stadium.
So this is when the Cardinals get DeAndre Hopkins back the week prior. So they actually get him back in week 6. So he'll be 100% healthy. He'll be back. He'll be 3 weeks into the offense. This will be his 3rd game in. I say Arizona takes this game.
Okay. Tampa Bay.
We're losing that game.
We have a bye week 11. We play the Raiders in week 12.
The Raiders are an interesting story. You know, if they can run the ball and their defense isn't good. They have horrible defense. They made Russell Wilson look good, and he still lost. So I would say if they run the ball on us, they're going to take the dub.
Okay. Got the Rams at SoFi week 13.
They're taking that.
Panthers at home.
Baker Mayfield looks trash. We're taking that one.
San Francisco at home.
We're going to take that one. We usually always beat the 49ers. You know, the reason we lost to them in week 2, we came off of a very emotional game, and we were not expecting not Geno Smith, but Jimmy Garoppolo to come in so soon. So it changed up the whole game plan. And, you know, coming off of that win against the Broncos, we'll have time to prepare. Teams start, Quandre Diggs said it best in his press conference before the game against the Lions after we lost. He said that, teams start to figure themselves out around week 7, week 8, and that's when you really know who's who. And so if you see Seattle start winning games by week 7, week 8, and they have a positive record, I say we take this game at home against the 49ers, even though they have a really good defense. Their offense is what lets them down.
Okay.
Kansas City. Yeah, I like Geno Smith. I like what he's done so far with the shootout. Jared Goff is not Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, the only way we're winning week 16, in my opinion, is if the Kansas City Chiefs have already locked up the AFC West and they're resting Mahomes, which would be our chance at winning that week. New York Jets, week 17.
Yeah, so New York Jets, that's going to be what happened last year. Against them, we blew them out of the water. This is Geno Smith's prior team that drafted him. They did not want him to be a starting QB there. So he just, not a revenge game, but it is a revenge game every time he plays them because of the memories. But, just speaking on that Chiefs game as well, I think that, it is a very high possibility that they do rest players, If they have it locked up, why would they not rest their players? But the Bills, they are really good. So they're going to be fighting for that first the AFC number 1 seed home field. They're going to be looking for that number 1 field advantage because there's only one team gets rest now. Because now there's 7 teams in the playoffs instead, or there's 18, or is it 7?
7 per
it's
division,
it's 7 per division instead of 6 now. So the only one team can get rest, which is crazy. So they're going to be really fighting for that first round. I mean that first seed.
So you got Chiefs winning that one.
I got Chiefs winning that one.
Jets.
We were going to win the Jets game.
All right, Last game of the season, Rams.
At home?
Yep, at home. Rams at home, week 18.
I say we win by 1 point.
So it's a close one. So you have us winning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Give us winning 7 more. So you have us getting 10 wins total in the season. I like that. You can make an argument in a weaker NFC compared to the AFC. Maybe we're a playoff team. Maybe you're not as crazy as I thought you were. We'll certainly see. Time will tell. A lot to...
Well, did you hear what Pete Carroll said? He even though, look at college. Players come and go every year. There are always new players coming in. Just because a new player comes in doesn't mean the scheme changes.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a lot of... You'd make an argument there's a lot of plug-and-play systems out there. All right, well, I think we've touched on a lot about the Seahawks, something both you and I were talking about, Steven's A-list. There was some highlights. There was definitely some eye-raisers. We'll start at number 5. We had the Cowboys, 4 the Packers, 3 the Bills, 2 the Chiefs, 1 the Eagles. I mean, what in the world are the Cowboys doing here? What in the world are the Packers doing here? They've looked sloppy, and the Eagles definitely belong there, but are they really better than the Chiefs and the Bills? I don't think so.
Yeah, so with the Cowboys, I do have to say this. With Dak Prescott, if they were 3-1 with Dak Prescott, I'm definitely putting them at 5 because that defense is real. Dak Prescott is real. Mm-hmm. Their run game isn't like it used to be. With the Packers, I like the Packers. Their defense isn't that great. They have Aaron Rodgers. He's a bad man. Mm-hmm. He could definitely, he needs some help at the receiver position. Bills, I'm right there. I can go 1 or 2 with the Chiefs and Bills. I like that. Actually, I'm moving the Eagles down to 2. All right. So the thing
you put at 1, the Chiefs or the Bills?
I'm putting the Bills.
The Bills at 1. They were my early Super Bowl prediction. I do like the Bills moving forward. The one game they lost to Miami, I mean, Miami certainly played good. They were coming off a hot week, another emotional win, but on the tail end they had a really large comeback against Baltimore. I think they scored 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to take the win.
It was actually I believe it was 4 touchdowns. Could be mistaken because I know that Tua Tagovailoa, he had 5 touchdowns in that game, which is crazy. When's the last time a quarterback done that? Patrick Mahomes, like 2 years ago. So it's not, you don't see that a lot in the NFL. But looking at, I'm gonna go Bills 1, Eagles 2, Chiefs 3, and the reason I'm putting the Eagles at 2 is, I'm gonna keep them at a high regard is because they're the only team in NFL history to go 4-0 and not trail in the second half.
So that makes perfect sense. I'm going to give you my top 5, but all these phonies online, they're going to give you their top 5 for now. I'm going to give you our top 5 teams at the end of the year. What I'm looking at now, what I'm going to project for the end of the year. Because I think that the teams that are being slept on here, and I say slept on tentatively because it's, of course, Steven's A-list. I think the Cowboys are too high, and I think the Eagles are too high. The Eagles, as great as they are, you can make an argument that they're the best team in the NFC right now, but
the
Cardinals last year, yeah, they started off hot, and they completely slumped. The Steelers 2 years ago, they started off 11-0, completely slumped. That happens all the time. I think my number 5 team, we're going to keep it in the house. We're going to keep the Eagles in there. I think the Eagles are, number 5 team in the NFL. They have the best roster in the NFL. Defense is real. Jalen Hurts is a dog. Doesn't mean he's the best quarterback in the league. When it comes down to playoff football, and he's in the NFC fighting against teams like the Niners, fighting against teams like the Rams, I think towards February and January, these teams are going to look a lot better than they do now. Teams that the Eagles are going to have to go through, they're going to have to go through the Rams and the Niners. And can they go through both? We'll see. Right now, I have them at 5. Number 4, we're going with the Bengals. They started off cold. I think that offense is going to start cooking. Mixon finally looked good. Their offensive line was Joe Burrow could have thrown the ball to anybody on that field with plenty of time to spare. He had a great game. T. Higgins was open all game long. Jamar Chase was getting involved, but it wasn't anything crazy. I got Bengals at 4. Number 3, we're gonna go ahead and go with man, I don't know who is at 3. He's got the Bills at 3. I think that's too low for the Bills. I like the what's the team here? I was just bashing on the Packers. I don't think they're number 4. I think San Francisco is better than the Packers.
Bro, I was just about to say that.
Just because of their defense, man. Their defense. Who would you rather play in the NFC Championship game? Aaron Rodgers or not Green Bay or San Francisco?
Lately, looking at Green Bay and the 49ers, I do not like the 49ers defense. They are just so strong. Like I say Bills are number 1, 49ers are number 2. And looking at that list, I'm a Seahawks fan. I hate the Rams. That's the team I hate the most in the division. A lot of Seahawks fans and 49ers fans don't get along. But you do have to give credit where credit is due. And looking at the 49ers, roster, all they need is a quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's an okay QB.
A game manager.
He's definitely a game manager. What they need to do is they need to play stout defense like they're playing, run the ball, take that ball out of Jimmy G's hands. They will win games. They almost won a Super Bowl doing that. But what did Kyle Shanahan do? He took the ball out of the running back's hand, put it in Jimmy Garoppolo's. They blew a 10-point lead to Patrick Mahomes. Jimmy G is not going to keep up with Patrick Mahomes. But that being said, I definitely see they're probably at number 3 because you said you had the Eagles at 5, the Bengals at 4, which I kind of disagree with you there just because of the rocky start they had so far. And then I definitely see the 49ers at 3.
Yeah, so we're in agreement there. 49ers at 3. Number 2 and 1 are a toss-up. I'm going to go with Chiefs at 2. Bills at 1, not because I think that the Chiefs wouldn't beat the Bills right now, but because I don't think the Chiefs are going to beat the Bills in January. They're going to see each other in the AFC Championship. Josh Allen's going to get over the hill. Josh Allen's going to the Super Bowl. Josh Allen, Super Bowl 2023 MVP.
Now, the thing is, for me, who do I see at 4 that's better than the Bengals? That's a really tough question. Do you see any other teams that's better than the Bengals?
Maybe you make the argument that you leapfrog Philadelphia into that conversation, but I still think that when it comes down to crunch time, the Bengals have a better chance of winning a playoff game than the Eagles.
Maybe I am a little biased because I am from Louisiana. I do not like Joe Burrow. Not an LSU fan at all, even though I don't watch football that much, but I know my family would crucify me. Just kidding on that if I said anything positive about Joe Burrow. So he is a good quarterback. It pains me to say that. I've seen his throws. When he got hurt the year prior before the Super Bowl, came back the next year. Everybody was so surprised that they went to the Super Bowl, like insanely surprised. Like I was like the Bengals. Like, I didn't even know they were good this year.
That's funny that you say that because I was talking to my wife who watches every single football game with me every weekend. She's a Joe Shiesty fan, man. Joey Burr, baby. Mm-hmm. He's got that dog in him. He's got that arm. He hits the gat. He gets it rolling. I asked her straightforward. I was like, listen, now let's cut the is this a PG or a PG-13? Let's cut the Bengals were not a top 2 team in the AFC last year. I think that I would say the Chiefs were better and the Bills were better. Both teams were better than the. And definitely, I don't think that the Bills or that the Bengals were the best team in the AFC last year. Not to mention, they won the Super Bowl. They got hot at the right time, but they weren't my favorites going into that Super Bowl. I think everybody could agree.
No, I definitely agree. I didn't even see the Rams making the Super Bowl, even though, a lot of people did because of the Matthew Stafford trade. But look at Matthew Stafford this year. He already threw a pick 6 against the Niners. And he got sacked 7 times.
Yeah, and, is that just, Super Bowl blues? You hear about that a lot. teams coming off the Super Bowl. They get that victory. There's still maybe a little bit recovery to do after the parade. Hard to say, right? But I do think that we haven't seen the best of the Rams this season. Same thing with the 49ers. I think, if that 49er defense can stay healthy, if Bosa specifically can stay healthy, which has kind of been we'll call it their Achilles, I think we can look for the 49ers to make a strong push. All right, I think we're getting towards the end here. We have a couple things left that I think we'll save for next week, but I did want to ask you, I want your way too early Super Bowl prediction. Who's going to be playing who in the Super Bowl, who's going to win?
So I'm definitely going to say the Bills in the AFC. I mean, it could be the Bills or the Dolphins. I'm going to go with the Bills, though, just because, everything that's going on with Tua. Like, I really pray for Tua. Hopefully he makes it back with the full recovery. Can't believe they even let him back on the field. So, first Bills. I'm going to go with Bills in the Super Bowl versus, that's a tough decision because NFC is not really tough at all this year. I mean, you could say Buccaneers. I mean, you could say the 49ers. I mean, also the Rams. Those are like top 3 teams in the NFC, really. Like, even though the 49ers haven't really been great, the only way that the 49ers are making it out of the NFC is by winning their division. They have to win every division game if they want to make it into playoffs. That's the only way they're going to make it out. So, Eagles. Like, I'm going to say Eagles versus the Bills. I'm going to root for the Eagles to take it. Even though.
Is that your prediction?
Yep, my prediction.
Okay, you got the Eagles winning the Super Bowl this year. That's definitely a bold one, and I like the pick. I don't disagree with the upside of the pick. I think that Hurts, since he's kind of had that chip on his shoulder since Tua replaced him in the Natty, and I think that he's looking to make a statement. So I do like that pick. For myself, I'm going to go ahead and make a pick, and I'm probably going to regret it later. I'm probably going to, I'm going to look back in February and call myself a doofus. And this is far-fetched, folks, but here we are. I have the Bills winning, but they're going to be playing the Packers. Look for the Packers to make a move on your boy Odell Beckham Jr., and he's going to come back as a solidified, healthy wide receiver 1. Aaron Rodgers is going to have someone to throw the ball to, and then look for those rookie receivers to step up and make those filler roles. That's what they need. They need that true wide receiver 1, and I think they would be absolutely crazy to watch him get signed elsewhere.
I think that is a really good pick. I would actually agree with that more than mine. The only reason I'm saying the Eagles is just because of the popularity they got right now. Seeing what they
Ride the wave.
Yeah, I'm just riding the wave. But I definitely see, there's the NFC is not a heavy team right now. There's no really look at the AFC, Chiefs, Bills, Dolphins, stacked. You could be like, oh, this team definitely can win. This team definitely can win. It's like who's who in the NFC. We don't know who's who, but I do want to just, before we close out here, if you have, before I'm going to hand you the mic one more time, if you have any more final thoughts. But, this is our first podcast. If you made it all the way through, just want to say thank you for, watching. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Also hit the like button too as well, because we want to make these videos for you. If you have any suggestions on content that you want us to make in the future, drop it down in the comments. We really appreciate it. You guys are amazing. And again, next week and the weeks after that, we're not going to be just passing back this mic, so I know it's a little awkward right now. So just bear with us, and in the future we'll have better videos to come out for you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess to close it all out, we don't really have an outro yet, but leave a comment with your thoughts, drop a like. We definitely appreciate it. This is the Hawks family, and we'll catch you later.